Travis Wingutso. I see the Mormon YouTuber is working on the Sabbath. YouTube is not an essential job, does not require you to work on Sunday, so find yourself a better job that doesn't require Sunday service work. Leave my videos alone. So, thinking about works, I probably should do a video on helping you guys understand what good works are. We'll use the Book of Mormon to start with, and then I'll go into my family example. Right from the beginning, we have Lehi, Laman, and Nephi. Lehi, we know, is a good man. He was rich, but in regards to his works, he really didn't have much. And so all we have from him is that when the still small voice spoke to him through dreams, he obeyed. And so good for him, but he didn't really accomplish anything. And so when we go to Laman, Laman is a situation where he doesn't listen to the still small voice, doesn't listen to the Spirit. He's the firstborn birthright blessing son, and he takes it for granted. He just is waiting for Lehi to die off so that he can then take over the family. He has no concept of following the Spirit and producing good works. And he doesn't even follow his father's example of at least being obedient to the Spirit. And then we get to Nephi. Nephi starts off by believing his father, and then becomes acquainted with the Spirit and follows the Spirit. And we see Nephi accomplishes a whole ton of stuff. He not only gets the brass plates, but he gets an idea to build a boat. Builds the boat. They sail to the Promised Land. And while in the Promised Land, has to flee from his brother, who, it's now time for him to take over and enslave and and punish everybody. And so Nephi leaves. And then you see the contrast. Laman and his society are scavengers. The crude huts and crude shelters and loincloths and scavenging for food. Whereas the Nephites, very industrious. They make clothing. They make homes. They build a temple patterned after Solomon's temple in stone. That's for inside thing for somebody who's no longer listening to anything I do. But yeah, very industrious. They farm, and so lots of innovation, technology advancements, and pursuit of science. And so you can see the fruits by which we can judge between Laman and Nephi, and even Lehi. And so let me take you to my family example. My mom believed she had to settle for my dad. And she justified the settling because my dad was the one that the Spirit told her to look for, somebody who'd served a mission. And so my dad served a mission, but my mom had to serve her own mission and then find him when she got back. Or rather, they were sort of stuck together because there weren't very many active people in that day here in Utah. That's where they were. Dad was going to the University of Utah because BYU wouldn't accept him because he had taken seminary. And my mom was working as a dental hygienist. And specifically so that she can find a husband, because she knew she couldn't find a husband in Southern California. That's the way my mom has always been. And I can tell a story about how she sat next to Elder Irene when he was in the 70s in charge of finding locations for temples. And so they were at a banquet. She sat next to him and asked him, are you planning on building a temple down here in California? She didn't bother to tell him, I'm looking to move. We want to be moving near a temple. And so Irene hastily responded, there are many people, many Mormons in the world who have to sacrifice and walk to get to a temple. So my mom understood, okay, no, he's not building a temple here in California. And then come to find out that a temple was announced in Bountiful, just down the block from where Irene lives. So, yeah, my mom specifically uses the church centered lifestyle that she has to do what she wants for her future. And so that's why she moved up to Utah, was to find a husband, because Utah was the central place for Mormonism at the time. And settled with my dad because he was a turned missionary. And then she eventually moved to Utah after the Irene incident. And so my dad is one who didn't really accomplish much. He got schooling, which he was the first in the family to get a higher education. As the fathers before him were farmers, and so he was able to get a master's degree and work at some prestigious businesses as a result. Some of it because the companies sort of did a bad thing, having job openings available, such as Ford with their Ford Pinto. and seriously, what is going on? Is it okay? And he really hadn't done much. He was just 16 hours, 6 days a week working, and he wasn't really inventing anything, wasn't really discovering or accomplishing anything. He was just a workhorse, like he was raised to be as a farmer, and which is different than my mom's dad, my grandfather, my maternal grandfather, who invented the dental chairs that rotate around into the various stations so that he can focus on one at a time and have them all taken care of in the various positions, whether they're getting x-rays or what. So that was my grandfather's patent. I did notice somebody here in Utah came up with his own and got put in the news as well, as he thinks he's the inventor of it. It's a slightly different design, but my grandfather's first. Regardless, so yeah, I could see the difference as to why my mom thought she settled with my dad. As my dad was a workhorse like Lehi. He listens to the Spirit and does the job. You know, he was a member of the 70. If you noticed that in the video I did yesterday. My Aaronic priesthood, becoming a priest certificate, my dad is listed as a 70. And you might be thinking, oh wow, General 70, wow, that's incredible, Travis. I don't remember him though. Well, you see, kids, in our day, we had the thing called stake 70s. Yeah, my dad was a stake 70. Now they're ward missionaries with a ward mission leader. And so that was the difference between my grandfather, who was an inventor, as well as a dentist, the best dentist I've ever had and known and heard about and seen and experienced. For example, you probably saw the one picture where I'm a kid and I've got a big old gap between my teeth. That may come from our West African ancestors. I don't know if that's a distinctive characteristic. Nonetheless, I was born with a gap in my teeth. And my grandpa, of course, is the one who put them together. He also has put in my initial cavities. I was not the best of brushing, because again, nobody really told me. I never clicked in my head until it was too late of the need for brushing. So yeah, I had lots of cavities, but my grandfather was the one who did them. And he was so expert at his job that his cavities still remain to this day. When on my mission, had another cavity that needed to be done, and person out in New York, it was on my mission, did it. I get back home from my mission and my grandfather sees it and he's pissed. He's complaining about what a shoddy job they did, and he's trying to fix it the best he can, but tells me in 5 years it's going to come out. Go ahead 5 years later, what do you know? I'm eating a burrito, and out it comes. And not only that, but it takes out one of his fillings down below. And so that's not his fault. That was that other person's fault who did a shoddy job. And so, yes, having skill in whatever field you're in is something of worth. But to accomplish something such as fixing people's teeth that lasts a good long life rather than expiring in 5 years, yeah, that's also an accomplishment. And so it's a lot different than my dad, who is just a workhorse, who's an obedient boy doing his job. But my dad one day was able to buy a brand new scanner. Scanners just got invented for the public, and bought one and realized that he was now fulfilling his mission in life. Okay. I mean, yeah, he was a part of an artistic work of publication of the Fulmer family line. Great. We need artists. But that's not as impactful as my grandfather's work as a dentist and an inventor to help his job run smoother, more efficiently. And so, yeah, again, workhorse. He didn't invent the scanner. He was just rich enough because of his 16-hour, 6 days a week job. Most of the time probably was spent in transit in California. But yeah, he specifically went too early to avoid traffic and too late to avoid traffic. That's why it was 16 hours. And so was able to spend extra time at work because he was there early and stayed late. But yeah, people who become great artists, whether it's music, and composition, and art, sculpting, painting, drawing, even video making, and audio publication of books. That's good, but you've got to have something that impacts for change. So it's tough in the artistic world. You can't just do art and be good at it. You've got to be able to make a change. And so Mozart, for example, you've got to be as good as Mozart to consider yourself and your career as having an impact and tremendous fruit works. So then we get to my brother. Because of his, is it dyslexia? Or is that the reversing thing? Whatever it is, his distance was askewed. So he couldn't see that a ball was coming at him. And learned that the hard way. But yet my parents still didn't catch on. I caught on. I threw a slow, soft ball at him, and it still hit him in the face. He can't tell distance, and so the ball hit him. And so he didn't get into sports. He eventually got into volleyball, and he liked volleyball, but he was never proficient and expert at it. It was just because he was tall and people wanted him on the team because of his height. But no. That's where my artistic with sports and other stuff comes in, as I was superior in all of that. But for my brother, as a result, spent his time reading dictionaries, encyclopedias, studying all of his class materials, and thus became a high honors student, valedictorian, went on to BYU, probably became close to valedictorian or salutatorian or whatever it's called. And so then he went to Michigan. And Michigan complained that he was being too biased in regards to his Mormon background for doing a sociology thesis paper on the city of Ephraim. They recognized that his Mormon upbringing was causing problems. Why is it stopping at 181, guys? There was no SNL last night. What's going on? Hey, wait a minute. Don't be playing around with me. All right. And so my brother, very smart in the sense that he was able to memorize. And so he's a great Jeopardy player, I guess. He's never done it, but I'm sure that's the kind of intelligence that he has. He memorizes. And yet he's never going to accomplish anything in his life. He went to apply for a teacher after he threw the race or the religion card on the Michigan people, university. And so they backed off and said, okay, you can have your PhD. Yeah, he went and applied for a teaching job at BYU, and that didn't last. And so he's just stuck working for the church in records or something like that, last I heard. And he's never going to accomplish anything. You know, he's been a workhorse, and now he's graduated, and he's just stuck doing records. He's technically underemployed, not working a job that he's educated for, obviously, but there's nothing for him. He can't accomplish anything. He can't excel in anything now because the school system trained him to fail. And so, yeah, he can't teach, he can't invent, he can't create. His following of the Spirit is just a labor situation, like my dad. And then there's me. Excelled in everything I'd touched. And I therefore knew that I only want to touch what I want to touch. Nobody's going to tell me what to touch. And so, yeah, I was in piano lessons because my mom forced me to. And I quit. Told the teacher I don't want to be a pianist anymore. I want to play baseball. Baseball's taking too much of my time. I can't play the piano. Sorry. But yet I can compose songs. I've composed several. The music and the text. And I can duplicate. I can play sheet music as well, but I'm clueless on the F minor, G flat, whatever. Don't know any of that. I naturally have the ability to compose songs right out of my head, but I pursued ancient languages instead. Walked right into it. And so, yeah, even as grown up, always in sports of some kind, and excelled in all of the different sports. But Dad told me that it was not likely that I was going to become a baseball player, so I shouldn't be wasting my time. Again, my dad's a workhorse, and here I am, and he doesn't know who I am. He has not seen my accomplishments because he's gone. And so he just tells me that because he couldn't accomplish anything, therefore I won't accomplish anything, and so I shouldn't try, just like he hasn't tried. And so as a result, I didn't pursue it. Didn't pursue any of the sports. Though my basketball coach was pissed because he knew I could have made the NBA. And I also knew that I could have made the volleyball Olympic team. But thanks, Dad. And so went off to Rick's because that's where I wanted to go. Good memories with my dad's parents, but also at Rick's College. And I had no clue as to what I wanted to do, and so I just took a whole bunch of sports classes. And so, yeah, hung out with the women's dorms, and then went on the mission to New York, because I was dropped off at the bishop's office to do it. Oh yeah, I guess I'm supposed to as a Mormon, huh? My parents paid for it all, so it wasn't like I had to financially make decisions. And so yeah, I'm going on mission to New York, Mom. Oh, great. We'll pay. Okay. And off to New York I went. While on New York, I invented an investigator record system that caught the attention of everybody, even Creel Coford, the mission president. And so I was then sent to the Bronx with McFarland, and we cleaned up the membership records there in the Bronx, resulting in the split branch and then the split mission that followed thereafter. And then I went to Canada when I got home, married a half and half, and she took me to Canada, where they just give out free babies at the hospitals. So cute. Then they pay you to have the babies, and then awesome system. I don't know why everybody's afraid of the system, but had known about the King Follett Discourse, Joseph Smith's retranslation of the Hebrew text of the Bible, and I knew that's exactly what I wanted to find out. I mean, previously I wanted to know about how to translate the facsimiles, because I didn't see any translation. I wanted to know. And my mom told me, oh, nobody can know. It's higher level learning when you're an adult. Whatever. And so, yeah, I was given the opportunity from the guidance counselor, who said, hey, you've been here a couple years now. You don't have a major. Let's see what you got. Oh, okay, you've got a whole bunch of philosophy of science courses, and you've been taking biblical studies courses by Thomas Robinson, and you took Latin your first summer here. So let's create a dual master's or dual bachelor's with a minor in ancient languages. Latin is a classical language. Regardless, they had a geology teacher who had gone to Harvard and studied biblical Hebrew under Thomas O. Lambden. Anybody who knows Hebrew knows Thomas O. Lambden, whose lesson manual was worldwide back in the day. And so, yeah, he was asked to have this one class of biblical Hebrew just for me. And Thomas O. Robinson also was able to do a Greek class as well, and took his Greek class for the final summer. Because I excelled in both of those classes, Thomas Robinson asked at the end if I would help him with the CD-ROM version for his revision of the Greek lesson or Greek vocabulary book that he had published. And so if you go on to Amazon and you look it up, you'll see the CD-ROM version. That would have been by me, but I told him I graduated. I'm moving down to the States. Sorry. Tried John Penny. He did pretty good. And he might still be around to help you with it. Yeah. And so that's that one class of biblical Hebrew. And even with Greek, which helped because the Greek characters, lo and behold, are exactly the same as the Paleo-Hebrew characters. So when I made that discovery, oh, okay, why isn't anybody making this clearer? Everybody's saying Hebrew is Semitic. And so, yeah, I deciphered Paleo-Hebrew. I am the decipherer of Paleo-Hebrew. It's not from Proto-Sinaitic. That just is all messed up. William, I don't know what he was thinking. He's dead now, but nobody's correcting him but me. But again, yeah. By their fruits ye shall know them. I've deciphered Paleo-Hebrew, deciphered Egyptian petroglyphs, discovered that the biblical stories, both Old and Gospels, are taken from the Egyptian petroglyphs, and thus found out my childhood question to my mother, whom my mother dismissed me. I'm the one who can finish the translation that Joseph started. And fulfill Ezekiel 37. Stick of Judah, stick of Joseph. So again, by their fruits ye shall know them. Now look at Nelson. He's supposed to be in the office of Moses, of which, if he correctly understood the meaning of Israel, that's what it's all about. Moses was the Torah fulfillment, but there's a latter-day fulfillment concept also with Israel. And the Jews should know it, but Nelson, of all people, should have known it also. And if you notice, Nelson, when he talked about it in conference, he tried to tell Mormons how the process works. That he had studied everything about it and then prayed to get more guidance and instruction. And then it just so happened that he came across two Hebrew scholars who told him the wrong answer. You know, he tried to teach Mormons a process of learning, but failed. And he's supposed to be a translator. We don't sustain him as a translator, do we? It's missing. And so, yeah, he's supposed to be in the office of the fulfillment of the meaning of Israel. Jacob usurped his brother's birthright and blessing. Because remember, Abraham, you're going to have the Messiah, the house of Israel. And so Jacob usurps it from his brother Esau. And so the Lord says, okay, you prevailed. So Nelson got that. But the reason for the prevailing is that he now gets to be the chosen lineage for the Messiah. the Prince of God. Yah, Prince of God. And it's right there in the meaning, in the text. And he missed it. Because Moses was the first part, but then the latter day Messiah. And he missed it. And now he's murdering us with this coronavirus, refusing to shut down the church. By their fruits we shall know them. He's murdering us. He's keeping the church open, keeping the temples open, keeping the missions open, keeping his businesses open. You don't murder as a prophet. Jesus talking to Peter, which you have to understand Greek to know what he means by love and what Peter means by love. Different loves. But he keeps trying to tell Peter, feed my sheep. Don't slaughter the sheep. That section 101, or is it 110? Joseph Smith gives a parable. And in that parable, he talks about the latter-day church. That the church will abandon the Mormons and leave them to be destroyed. There it is. We're in it. Fulfilled. And the Lord in that one goes off on those slothful servants and has to choose another person who is the man like Moses, Yah, Prince of God, to gather in the elect to Zion, the only place of peace, safety, and refuge during the whole world war. And Nelson instead is murdering us. No intention to heal. No intention to keep us home until this passes over. It's not a hard thing to identify. You know, as much as it's okay to associate with somebody who's a workhorse, like Lehi, do you want as a leader of the church somebody who's not a workhorse, who's a Laman instead, who just wants to murder, to enslave, to extort? Nelson is Laman. And you can argue with me all you want, but we know by their fruits. You're being murdered. If you're not dead yet, he's still trying. He'll get you, because nobody's stopping this. Utah is full red. That means 10% or higher for every single county. I'm kind of amazed because there's some places in Utah that don't really have many people. And they're red, which means everybody, I guess, is red. Or everybody's got it in those counties. But this is not hard to figure out. So if you're out there protesting, demanding to still not wear a mask, to still send your kids to school, to still attend church, to still go to the temple, to still go have a job, we're already seeing that the time is coming very quickly where everything's going to be forced to be shut down. I warned you in the beginning, before this all got going, that this day would come. Here it is. It's fulfilled. And just in time for the holidays. They've purposely destroyed your holidays. You aren't going to have a Thanksgiving unless you rebel. But the consequences will follow. And you won't have a Christmas unless you want the consequences to follow. Schools are forced to close now. Classrooms of 33 kids only have 6. They are forced to close. But will they provide us with what we need when we're forced to close? They didn't do it the first time around. People went without sanitation, if you remember. We can't have that happen again. They need to take care of us. As a government, as a church, they are required to take care of us. Do you understand this? Don't blame me for warning you to try to save your life and protect you. They're the ones trying to murder you. By their fruits ye shall know them.